Hey y'all, this is David Ducker coming back at you, and today we're going to be talking about insiders versus outsiders. And I'm not talking about extraplanar creatures or WCW tag teams. What I'm talking about is Batman superhero team. No. What I'm talking about is the outsider, as in someone who doesn't know anything about the setting that they've come into, a foreigner. Uh, Someone who has to ask a lot of questions and get exposition out of people, versus an insider, someone who is born into the culture that they're currently in. They know exactly the difference between an arming sword and a long sword. They know what mail armor is and what plate armor is. They know the difference between a courser and a destrier. They know that a duke must be addressed as your grace, where a king must be addressed as your majesty. They know what a squire is, what a knight is. They know how to sign their name properly. They know how to write out betrothal agreement. They know how many acres a baron typically controls. They know all these things. So this is what they are, but there are a lot of ways to use them. Let's talk about from a player's perspective. So if you're coming into a game, basically you have those two choices. You could say, do I want to be someone from this setting, or someone not from this setting, an insider or an outsider? So, for example, if Mike Chartrand is running Forgotten Realms, I'm going to be an outsider, because me, David Ducker, I don't know anything about Forgotten Realms, really. And I don't care to learn, so my character is just not going to know anything about Forgotten Realms. He'll come in and maybe I'll make him, the Al Sheik from the Valley of Illah Baba. And he's been exiled from his homeland for killing the giant Goliath, or some foolishness. Maybe I'll come in, I will come in as a Kislevite Kosar from Kislev, where we worship Ursus, mother of bears. And I have my messer at my side, my furry boots, but I don't understand the silks and the hangings. So I'm going to come in, and as an outsider, I'll get to talk to all these other characters, learn about their culture in character, learn about them, again, in character. These are all role-playing opportunities, and they're golden ones. If someone's explaining to me why slavery is great, and in my homeland, slavery is not great, we're going to have some personal conflict, perhaps, about this geographical or cultural conflict. Whereas if someone is playing, is running rather, let's say, Star Trek, and they're doing Klingons, I can be a Klingon. I think I know enough about Klingon culture. Maybe I'll watch a couple episodes of TNG or Deep Space Nine. I'll brush up. But I could play a Klingon. That's fine. I could be insider. And I could help the GM educate the other players. I could really integrate into that setting. We could have our Klingon house, and I'd have to talk to the GM about what houses we're allied with, what houses are our rivals, get some Klingon politics, get some history, because Klingons love history. What battles have I fought in? What battles have our family won? But then when I come in, I know I have this wealth of knowledge, and the GM can draw on, and the other players can draw on. And I'll be a real asset to him. I won't have as much role-playing potential in some ways, but when I do pull out those role-play scenes, they'll be really specific to this story and this setting, right off the bat, without any build-up, because I'm already there. I'm an insider. So that's the two. That's the differences. But those are the differences. Grammar is important, son. Those are the differences between the insider and the outsider. They each bring a different flavor to your game. And when you're coming in, you should think about what you want to do. Do you care to research this? Do you already know about it? I was talking to someone playing a maester from Game of Thrones. They didn't know anything about Game of Thrones, and the game had already started, so clearly they didn't care to learn before the game started. And I'm just like, you can't play a maester if you don't know about the world. A maester's job is to know about the world. Like, in the world, they're the most knowledgeable people about the world, and you can't play that because you don't know any of these things. You could play a Dornishman, and you don't know about this stuff. If you don't care, that's great. I'll get a Dornishman in there, or you could play someone from Bravos, or someone a lost Valerian who's from across the sea, and the Targaryens weren't the only ones who survived. You could play that character. That'd be great, but you can't play a Meister. So the GM should not have allowed this, and the player should not have done this. And if they'd done things a little different and just thought ahead, pre-screened, they could have utilized this player, who might be a great role player, and they could have given him a character that allowed him to show that, and would fit better with the story and the team and the setting. And it could have been great. In my mind, and maybe it would have been terrible anyway, but it's definitely terrible the way they did it. I always think if we plan things right, and we can make anything great. Which is why I think so much about these things and try to share some knowledge. So let me know what you think about insiders and outsiders. If you've seen them done well, poorly, if I missed anything, in the comments below, please. And until I see you again, good day and good game.